Hello, listeners near, far, and light years away. This is the weekly What's Up. I'm Jay.
I'm your in-house music snob, Wesley.
And I am your favorite substitute teacher, William.
Here on the weekly What's Up, we challenge ideas, provoke thought, and review various art forms from the filthy planet Earth. Coming up this week, we'll be discussing Until I'm Gone by Run, Definitely Run, Glenn Beck's reading of The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, and a live performance of Infectious by IMMINENCE. But first, a word from our sponsor. Okay, so our first topic is a song called Until I'm Gone by Run, Definitely Run. So I'll preface this by saying I've actually heard this song before. I didn't recognize the name or anything, but once the first verse started, I was like, oh, yeah. I don't know exactly where I heard it, but I know I've heard it at least once.
That's how hearing works.
I remember this.
My ears have discerned this before.
I recall this exact chord progression multiple times before. Oops, am I showing my hand a little?
Oh my god.
Sorry.
So there were a lot of moments in this song where I really liked the singer's voice. There are a couple where I didn't like it at first, but once I listened to the song a few times over, I kind of stopped noticing it. Overall, I think this song was a really great addition to, you might say, the portfolio of alternative metal. I like it more each time I listen to it. This is actually similar to the kind of music I have planned for my next album, which is kind of why I've been learning the proper screaming technique so I don't hurt myself. It was mixed very nicely. Whoever did the mixing did an awesome job, very professional. I was surprised it didn't have more views. I love the drum fills. Those added a nice touch when there wasn't much going on musically. There wasn't anything particularly complex as far as guitar work, but I kind of liked the simplicity.
I feel that. I actually kind of thought that mixing sounded a little tiny bit tinny, but that's just me. Might have been my headphones, but I thought the mixing could have been done a little bit better.
I didn't really get that. It sounded good to me. Yeah, it might have been a headphones thing. I don't know. It's kind of hard to find that balance, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's always going to vary from person to person as well.
Yeah, and it's going to vary depending on, like we said, what you're listening through.
That makes sense. But overall, I for the most part agree with you. I actually really love what they did with the use of rap mixed in with rock.
I'm not really a fan of rap, so I didn't really care for that segment as much.
Really?
No, but it wasn't very long, so I can't be mad.
For me, it kind of came off as inspiration from not Wrath of the Machine, Rage Against the Machine.
Or what's that other band? Ashes to New.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought their incorporation of those different kind of genres with something that you wouldn't necessarily hear that in was done pretty well.
Yeah, I get that. I was personally just so hoping for a breakdown. I was hoping that they would just unleash the beast during the bridge.
Yeah.
But they
can
didn't.
Get that.
They kind of saved it for the end, which was great. I love that gritty sound. You can communicate so much emotion through screams like that. If I had one critique, I honestly would have just loved to hear more screaming, maybe some longer ones like the one they had right at the end. But, that's just because I like my metal heavy. And my beats fast and my bass down. No, I'm just kidding.
No. Oh, not again. Dev, you're back.
Back. Dev made an appearance last episode when we started trashing it again. Mm-hmm. And that was with different people.
Good.
It's great.
Okay. So I was looking up the band a little bit as I was listening to this, and they're definitely trying to make a name for themselves in the band scene right now, but it's hard to really say where they're going for, because they are they self-label themselves as a nerdcore band. But here they are trying to sound kind of like heavy rock, screamo-esque.
It was it was alternative metal.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that there's a little bit of identity kind of lost there. When I watched this on the YouTube video that was sent, I think the third or the fourth highest comment said that it's, quote, missing a lead guitar solo. And I think that explains the entire song. It's missing a lead everything to be honest. It sounds like this sounds like a song that if you stripped its lead vocals, lead guitar off of it, and you just listen to like the background track, that's what this sounds like. It didn't, and I counted. I think the singer only sings 6 different notes. And granted, all the notes are kind of in that second passaggio range, which is it's pretty high. That's almost everyone's voice. Around E4 is this place. There's a break in your voice called the passaggio. That kind of like there's a mechanism shift that where you have to start singing at a different kind of function to get that higher stuff that's like above the staff, if you will. So, but he only kind of sat in that area. He, Nam, I think is the singer, kind of just sat around that break, which is might be why the screaming sounded really good, because it was already in a kind of like fragile area of the voice, but it all just kind of sat there, and it didn't really could have gone way lower into like the third octave instead of just kind of chilling between 3 and 4. That's like, this is me being super nitpicky about it, obviously,
right?
But it kind of just sat there, and there was nothing really memorable about it. There was no like super catchy hook, like even just like the chorus and stuff like that was just a descending like da 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 da. It would just da 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 da. I'm not probably in the right key at all, but it was just 1 2 3 4 3 2 1 4 3 2 1 4 3 2 it was just a descending scale the entire time.
Yeah, it was like da 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 da. Yeah,
that's exactly it. Yeah, right, because it was in minor. I'm stupid.
No, it's okay.
But yeah, I will say, mixing-wise, it sounds really clean. That said, I feel like this piece is a little too safe. I think this is like the piece that they like to show everybody and say like, oh, this is what we're doing. And it's like, it's not bad, so they're not going to do anything like, no one's going to say like, oh, like, no, this is bad or anything like that. They're going to just kind of be like, oh, yeah, that's pretty solid. And it is pretty solid. But like I did a little bit more research, and I actually watched them. I looked up, they performed at BLFC 2 years after this one was done, and it wasn't good, guys. It wasn't good.
That's a no for me, dog.
Yeah, it's a big no for me. I do. They're clearly like a beginner band that really wants to kind of break out into the scene, and I wish them all the luck for that. I think they just need some work on their live performing, because that's really what's going to sell it.
And like being overproduced like in the recording studio could also ultimately hurt you, because if you're putting out something that's unrealistic, people are going to be looking forward to that in the live performance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even like their frontman wasn't keeping like a super good connection to the audience too in that performance, but we're not here to critique that. Just small things like that. So like it is really well produced and it sounds good, but I think that there's they have some ways to go before, if they do want to try to break out into the scene.
I think they're, like you said, they're sort of just starting out, and for somebody who's just starting out, I think they're doing a pretty decent job. You know, if you look at, you know, people like I don't know if you guys like Starset, right? Starset is, you know, they're kind of becoming bigger and bigger, and, you know, they've definitely earned it. But they started as a band called Downplay, and if you listen to Downplay's early stuff, it was not good at all. So for them, for Run Definitely Run to kind of be starting at this level, they're starting at a much better level than Downplay started at. So I think they have a lot of potential, and like I said, there was something about the simplicity of the song that I liked. Yeah, I think you're right. A lead would have been nice in there somewhere. But overall, I think, yeah, you said it was kind of a safe song, and that's fine. I think overall, I think they're doing pretty great, and at this point, they just need some support.
You're not going to be able to make much leeway with what's going on right now, so
right.
Yeah, I think that's definitely, I agree with you there.
Anyone have anything to say, like, lyrically? Do you guys think that this song played it safe lyrically as well?
I did, yeah, I looked at the lyrics. I didn't see anything particularly extravagant. It kind of, lyrically, it was sort of like new 3 Days Grace kind of stuff. I mean, I actually, people are going to hate me, but I actually like new 3 Days Grace, but lyrically, it's not like, it's not a lyrical masterpiece. It's relatively on the simple side. I mean, for the most part, it was good, but it was it was simple. Like the guitar work was simple. It was melodically simple. It was lyrically simple, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think that this is kind of their jumping off point. They're trying to get started, and there's something insane happening in the background right now.
He's left to a different room.
Did you just get kidnapped?
Wait, who is that? What, me?
You okay?
Wait, what just happened? I moved
it just
my
heard
microphone.
a lot of background
Yeah.
noise. It was just like, are you okay?
Okay.
Sounded like you might have fallen out of your chair.
No, I'm good. No, nothing happened.
Sounded like you got kidnapped
I don't
or
know.
something.
I'm good. I'm all right. I'm good. Whew.
Okay, good. I was worried for you.
I'm good. I'm okay.
Just like Mortimer, he's left the room.
Wesley! He's
walking down the street.
I'm just like, bye guys. I'll come back.
Hope somebody caught that reference.
He's gonna show up next episode. But nah, I kind of thought lyrically the song was like a teen gotcha song. Like it has a simple kind of uplifting message. Like the lead singer was like, "Hey, I was in a bad situation, so I just ran away." So like lyrically, yeah, I would say it's also really simple and safe.
Well, with that same thing, there's I think there are multiple songs on 3 Days Grace's like most recent album, Outsider, that are kind of like exactly like this, like, hey, this sucks and I'm running away. Like that's like 3 Days Grace in a nutshell right now. But for people in tough situations, music like that helps. So I get it, and I feel like I feel like this was not just I don't think they were going for edgy lyrics. I think that this was probably written based off of some kind of experience that they had.
Yeah.
So I think I got the vibe that this was actually about something, not that they were just trying to be edgy.
Because I was reading the lyrics too. It says, "Forget what you say, my life's back on track," which kind of sounds like people might have judged him for leaving a certain situation, but ultimately it was a good move for him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it could have been based on like something that might have happened to him.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know.
And for that, it's passionate and reflects that. I think it's a very well done reflection of that in that sense.
I agree.
Yeah, and for a group that kind of got together and they're sort of, like I said, just starting out, I mean, that was pretty solid.
Oh yeah.
And if they, I didn't look, but I'll take your word for it that they need some work on their live performance. But that's a much different environment than being in studio. It's much more difficult. Not to mention because I kind of have experience with it, not a lot. Like I've done some like in studio piano stuff, and then I've done piano performances in front of live audiences, and it's a lot different. There's I've never had to sing in front of an audience though, so I don't know how that works. But
yeah, it's tough.
I can imagine, right? Yeah. Even like unfortunately, I hate to throw Starset under the bus. As much as I love Starset, I'm throwing them under the bus a little bit by saying that their live performances still need some work. As far as not really, like I don't want to throw anybody in particular under the bus, but the vocalist Dustin Bates is a little struggly when it comes to live performances. The rest of the band is pretty tight, but he's working on it. He's got a vocal coach and everything now. But anyway, this devolved into something totally
no,
different.
it's okay. And I will say this is and I'm kind of like walking back what I was saying, because like it's fun. It's very easy in a critical sense to just be able to just kind of like to shit on artists. Hi, Dev. And it's super easy to do that. But with people who are starting out, it's not. I think I was a little too mean to them in my review, because the only way that you get better by performing, and this is always a big thing, is by performing.
Right.
So the only way that can be done is by doing it. And I've performed, and like the context of how you're performing is always going to be different. Like if it's being recorded, is it a performance while being recorded?
Right.
How is it being recorded? So there's always going to be challenges and adaptations that need to be made. So at least they are performing. Like as much as I want to say like, well, like they're not good at performing and stuff like that, like I don't have a band. They have a band. They are already milestones ahead of me if I wanted to be in a band.
And also, like, from performing, you can also try out new things and see what works with an audience, and then you can also take that and put it into the next album. So by simply just performing, no matter how bad you are, it's going to influence the next thing you're going to do.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I had two quick notes. The first one was I also did a little research into the band, and I was surprised, but also happy to discover that the members are all furries, which was delightful.
And I think that kind of explains why they performed at BLFC.
Right. And the other note I had was the note was about the name of the band. I don't really understand it. Is it a reference to something? Like, I feel like there's definitely some context to the name that I just don't have.
I think if I can I'm just gonna take a shot in the dark here. It reminds me of like horror movies, kind of like it's the cheesy dialogue of like they see the monster and the reaction is run, definitely run.
Oh yeah, like, what do we do? Run, definitely run. Yeah.
I thought it was
maybe.
a reference to Doctor Who, possibly.
Ooh, you know what? It actually might be.
That's kind of like where I went for when I first saw the title. I was like, that seems like a very Doctor Who phrase.
And they have said that they are nerdcore, so that could very well be the case there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. And I will say it has really good search engine. I forgot what the phrase is, but like you Google that name, their band comes up.
Right.
Yeah, I noticed
It's a band,
that. Yeah.
and it's a band that only has 1,000 people, but you Google that name, it comes up. So that's really good for them. They have really good search engine optimization.
They got their name out there. Absolutely.
Any final thoughts on this band?
I was just gonna say, go show this band some support. They're doing some great work. I'll definitely be checking out their other music.
Yes.
Also an ad for the new Milan movie played before the song, and I got excited, but that's unrelated. Yeah, go show them some support. They're only gonna grow and get better, and I think that they've started off pretty well in a pretty solid way.
Yes. And if you are in the band and you're listening to this, keep up the good work and keep practicing.
For sure.
Go get them.
Get them.
Chase that dream.
DM us what your name means.
Yeah, please.
Sure.
Tweet us at the What's Up Cast. What is the name? I don't understand it.
I like them. I want to see what they do later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Jaden.
Yeah.
What's our second thing?
Uh-oh.
Okay. No,
Ominous giggling.
no, he's done that in a couple episodes that he's been on, and it's been funny. That's like a thing now. All right, so our next topic is the band IMMINENCE and their performance of Infectious in the Studio Mega. Okay, so I love this so much. Like, I love the song, and this live version was really, really good. It shows off how skilled and professional these guys are. And after the last episode, me putting this performance on the review list is sort of my passive-aggressive way of getting my co-host to listen to more IMMINENCE. These guys are so underrated. Like, they've been compared to people like Architects and stuff. But I personally think they've proven themselves to be better than Architects, but that's just me. What did you guys think?
I felt really, really bad because my first note on this was this man needs to learn how to enunciate, and then after Googling them, I realized they were from Sweden.
You're like, oh, English isn't going to be their first.
So I'm sorry, IMMINENCE.
We harmonized a little bit there, Wesley.
Quick, choose a pitch. I'm sure Eddie Berg forgives you.
I'm sure he does.
But all in all, I actually really dug this song. As passive aggressive as it is, you might be turning me off to a band.
Yes! Happy.
I also really enjoyed the violin addition to the song. Also, did they add a voice filter during the bridge?
Oh, I didn't catch that part. No, I think what happened was that one of the guitars, I believe, was doubling his voice and might have even been using harmonics to double it, so it gave it a kind of ethereal sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, first time hearing it, it really like fucked with my ears a little bit, but because I was like, what am I hearing?
Right.
I definitely really, really loved their the use of like electronic sampling and the synthesizer at the beginning. That was just
magic. Like, this song in particular is my favorite song from the album Turn the Light On. That's extremely difficult to choose just one. For new listeners, the singer Eddie might be a little bit difficult to understand, like you said, William. But even just musically, there's a lot to talk about. Eddie's performance on the violin was pretty simple, but it was an interesting and emotional sound to lay over the gritty riffs. The first couple lines he sings were a little hard to hear. They probably should have bumped up the audio just a little bit. And there are a few times in other parts he was a little drowned out from the instruments. But it whatever. He absolutely nailed the screams. He seemed to struggle a little bit with the clean notes. Like, not that they sound bad, but that he's trying really hard to hit them correctly. But at least he's hitting them.
Okay, Skype kicked me. I was in the middle of talking about them, and it kicked me.
Oh yeah, you like stopped talking, so I thought you were.
What was the last thing I said?
You were talking about like the little synth in the beginning, and I said it was magic, and then you stopped talking.
Oh, okay, yeah, I would, yeah. It was pretty. Yes. All right.
He also, like, if you compare it to the original, he switches up the melody just a little bit, and he actually interchanges violin with parts that were originally vocals in the original, which was a nice touch. And when he's not playing it, he cradles the violin like it's his baby, which is kind of cute. And he has a beard now, which was a little bit jarring because I'd never seen him with a beard before. Like, I clicked on the video and I was like, wow.
Yeah, he's definitely, like, he used to
He's all
have the
scruffy.
kind of, he looked like 90s Leonardo DiCaprio with, like, the swoopy hair.
Yeah.
But now he's updated it to, like...
He's Daniel Radcliffe now.
Dude,
Sure,
half
yes,
half the comments on the video say he looks like Daniel Radcliffe, and I really don't see it. Like maybe a little from certain angles, but not that much. Like 50% of the comments was like, "Oh my god, he's like the Daniel Radcliffe of metalcore," and I was like, I don't see it.
I can see it from the side profile a little bit.
I do...
I think maybe a little.
Yeah, just a little bit, a little bit. I was gonna say a little more like Shia LaBeouf before he had a total mental breakdown.
He's doing
Sorry, I didn't
fine.
mean to laugh at his mental breakdown. That wasn't nice.
He's okay. He's doing okay. I will say, make a comment on the violin. When it did kind of the camera started to pan, and I just thought that the contrast of him doing his screams and stuff, and having like all this tension in his body as he's and bouncing on the balls of his feet to get that kind of vocals out.
Yeah.
But he's just like still very gently holding his violin the entire time. I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah, and he's like,
That's-
and then when he switches over to play it, he becomes so calm.
His technique is so good.
Yeah.
Because he brings it up. He has his bowing hand is great, and there's no tension in his arm. There's no tension in his shoulder, and he plays it so well. He has a really good technique. And then he puts it down, and then he gets back to that energized, "Oh, I'm gonna scream into the microphone," and it's so good. Eddie Burke is very quickly becoming like kind of an unknown artist that I feel like people should like acknowledge more.
He's very underrated right now. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, love him.
I will say, whenever he did start to scream and he was just like clutching the violin, I was like scared he was gonna break it.
He's gonna break his baby.
He was like,
was so scared.
he was cradling it though. It was like, ugh.
But you never know. You get too into the song and then you suddenly smashing shit.
And we've also, okay, I also want to give due credit to the other band members. So we've got Harold doing lead guitar and some impressive backing vocals. We've also got Alex on rhythm guitar, Christian on bass, and Peter on drums. I absolutely love that in this video it isn't primarily focused on Eddie as kind of the front man. We get to see each of them close up doing their part. And they all they perform really well as a team. They weren't jumping around. They were really professional and really focused on making it sound as good as possible, which I really appreciate. It was really solid performance from these guys.
Yeah, being in a music school, I very quickly, like, I'm a vocalist. I was like a musical theater person before I went to big boy college for music, and I had like one image of what it means to be in a band when I was growing up. When you get into a space and you're working with professionals and you like watching a chamber group work together, and how they all make eye contact and they are just together at the downbeat, and they're just together with a difficult passage or a key change, and they just do it because they're so well rehearsed. It's such an impressive thing to see that, like, oh, of course modern day garage bands are just the same thing. It's just the modern step of it. So these guys
Right.
are very much like that. They're just a very, very like chamber-esque in that they just know. They always have their eyes on each other. They're watching each other, and they're together. It was super great to be able to get that focus of that, quite literally a 360-degree view of how each of them interact, and it was really awesome to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And and it's much different from like, live performances you would see on stage, because then they're like trying to engage the audience and jumping around a little bit. So to see them like so like focused and being so precise, but playing the same kind of like, something you thrash your neck to, it's like, it was really interesting.
I also kind of thought this like message of the song was a little bit heartbreaking
Yeah,
because it
yeah.
just sounds like he was trapped in a bad situation he couldn't escape.
Yeah.
It even continues into like, if doubt was a crime, I'd be convicted. Sounds like he's been having doubts about like maybe a partner's faithfulness, which seems to be correct judging from the chorus. We tiptoe around and I keep shutting my mouth, but silence is a match that's going to burn us down. Sounds like he knows what this person's doing, but he's not saying anything about it because he's too scared to.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the very first line of the chorus is so sad. He said, came to the conclusion that love is an illusion. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry.
Nicole, baby.
Yeah. And then he finishes off, and during the breakdowns, he also said, the fear inside won't let me go until my heart lets me move on. So it seems like he still is having such a hard time moving on from whatever experience this is. It's really sad.
Yeah, it almost sounds like a sort of like, I don't want to say flat out abusive, but like one of those relationships where it was clearly not healthy for the person who was in it, and
It's a toxic
being out of
relationship.
it. Oh yeah, that's probably the best way to put it. And now that he's out of it, like, what does he do? I'm so addicted to this toxic relationship.
Right, like if I leave this, I'm like going to lose everything, kind of thing. Someone give this man a hug.
This man is
I feel that.
not reaching his daily allotment of 8 hugs a day.
He needs them, dude. He needs them.
Did you see that post? There was a tweet going around where it was like, apparently the average human person needs 8 hugs a day. I ain't getting that. Where are my hugs?
I probably need 15.
I'm messaging my fiance right now and telling her she's slack. Science said that you have to hug me 8 times. I didn't say it. Science did.
Science did, right.
Science did, so let's... Come on, hugs.
Hug it out.
Group hug, come on. Get ready. But
Audience, it's group hug time.
Everybody in. Everybody, come on. Everybody in.
Listeners, come here.
Everybody in.
Come here.
There it is.
Yeah,
There it is.
Hey,
Big
don't
group
tickle
hug.
me. Don't tickle me.
That's weird.
I'll give you a hug, but don't tickle me.
Yeah.
your chin's on my
Whose hand is that?
Could you not?
my
Yeah.
shoulder.
No, you
Right.
gotta. All right,
Time to let go.
Jaden, they made it weird.
Time to let go. All right, let go. There you go. Okay.
I don't want to do that again.
I love you, but I respect your distance. So
That was-
go stand over there, please. Thank you.
That was very sweaty.
That might be my favorite bit we've ever done. Okay, so one last. Does anyone have any last things to say here?
Give Eddie a hug. Hashtag give Eddie a hug.
Hashtag give Eddie a hug.
Give Peter and Alex and who are the other guys?
Harold and Christian.
Yeah, give them hugs too.
Everybody, yeah. Go hug all the band members.
From a
With
respectful
consent.
distance.
Yes, correct.
Any final thoughts?
My final thought would be bonus points. The description of the video says "from Sweden with love," which is really sweet and is basically the best thing ever. So yeah.
We love Sweden here.
It was very sweet.
It was the sweetest thing.
I have to leave. I'm leaving this call.
No, come back. He's gone. He's gone.
I'm going.
He's gone.
Gone. Left.
Goodbye.
Can't go on without him. I don't know what we're gonna do. He's the backbone of this podcast.
Y'all thought I would leave? I'm the backbone of this podcast.
Oh,
Overall, I like the song. Fuck you, Jaden, because I'm going to be listening to them today.
The album Turn the Light On is their best one, and their second best one is This Is Goodbye. It's a fantastic album. And they have an acoustic album they came out with this year, January, I think. Also very good. Go listen to it all.
Yes, listen. Enjoy.
Hey! Listen!
No.
Jaden, what's our third thing?
Oh, God. Okay, so our next topic is The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. And we're splitting this into two parts because we'll be talking about the poem itself by Edgar Allan Poe, and we'll be talking about the voice actor who performed this in the specific video we watched, Glenn Beck. So, a quick summary of the story of The Raven. Some people have a hard time understanding because of the flowery and verbose language. I mean, I find it absolutely beautiful, but it can definitely make the reading comprehension a bit more of a challenge. So I'll put it into a simple summary, okay?
Give us the cliff notes.
Right. Yeah, cliff notes.
Give us that elevator pitch.
Hope that's not copyrighted. Okay. So, the Raven follows a narrator who's never actually given a name on a cold night in December. He's reading by a dying a dying fire, thinking about his lost love, Lenore. He hears a tapping at the door. At first he ignores it, but upon hearing it again, he goes to answer it, but there's nobody there. He realizes the tapping is coming from his window, so he opens the window, only to have a raven fly into the room and perch on the bust of Pallas above his door. Pallas is a Greek goddess of wisdom, for some context, and for anyone who's unfamiliar with the term, a bust is a sculpture of a person's head, chest, and shoulders. Okay, so the protagonist, in a joking manner, asks the raven what his or her name is. The raven answers nevermore, and the narrator expresses surprise that the raven is capable of speaking and says nonchalantly, but also sadly, that the raven will likely leave soon, just like everyone else has. The raven replies again, nevermore, and the narrator is surprised, but concludes that the bird probably learned the word somewhere, and that's the only word that she knows. Ravens can actually learn how to mimic speech and other noises, so it's not a crazy thing to assume. I actually got off on a whole adventure watching videos of ravens talking. It's crazy. Anyway, the protagonist pulls his chair closer to the raven, thinking about the situation he finds himself in, and eventually begins to think about Lenore again. In a weird moment, he thinks the air becomes denser, quote-unquote, and that must mean there are angels close by, or so he believes. He asks if God is sending him a sign that he has to forget Lenore, but the raven tells him nevermore, meaning no, you'll never forget her. The protagonist angrily asks if he'll ever see Lenore again in heaven, or what have you, and the raven, of course, says nevermore, meaning you'll never see her again. The protagonist calls the bird a liar and demands to be left alone, but the raven doesn't move and continues to sit there, until the point of whenever the narrator is telling his story to the audience. In the case of a lot of Poe's protagonists, it seems he went a tad crazy at the end. Or at the beginning. I don't know. But yeah, that's a summary of the story.
This is my first actual time listening to, or just even reading this poem.
Oh.
Really? They didn't force you it in high school?
Nah, dog. I went to a cool high school. It's called Home.
Oh, you were homeschooled?
Yeah.
I was homeschooled and it was forced on me. Not that I was mad because it's an absolutely beautiful poem, but anyway, continue.
But I think the absolute grief and disparity that the poem speaker character experience really does encapsulate that feeling of loss, the anguish of wanting that lost person back in your life, but not being able to have them was captured. But when you're mourning, of course you're gonna do some wacky shit like talk to a bird.
It's fair.
What else have you got to lose? It's a bird.
Right.
I have some problems with the narrative. If you know the bird only knows one word, why would you hurt your own fucking feelings by asking if you're gonna see your dead wife again when you know it's just gonna say nevermore again?
Because he's losing it, man.
Yeah, he's already kind of come to question: is this a sign from a divine, intervention?
Right.
So he's already kind of had this stake in the bird that this bird is here to tell me something.
Yeah, he's kind of got this presupposition that the bird is some kind of messenger or some kind of symbol or something. And there's actually a debate on whether the protagonist has absolutely just lost it and he's hallucinating, or if the raven is actually supposed to be some kind of demon or supernatural entity. I'm not really sure, to be honest.
I think since it's implied to be a demon, and the fact that even after that whole shebang, it's still there, I think it may be a demon, because why would it just stay there and still be live.
I'm more partial to thinking that he actually did see a raven or something like that, but he's gone mad with grief over losing Lenore, which is really sad. But he's gone mad with grief over losing her, and I don't think the raven's actually there. I think he's hallucinating it because in Edgar Allan Poe's work, he's got a theme of his characters experiencing a reality that is not real, like just losing it and seeing stuff. Like in the case of the Telltale Heart, right? You know, he absolutely loses his mind and he hears the heart beating underneath the floorboards, which is not possible, and nobody else in the room can hear it, but he can hear it, and he freaking loses it. Not that he hadn't lost it before, but he snaps even more. His characters have a habit of experiencing things that are definitely not there, which is why I think that the raven is actually not there. Maybe it was there, like he saw a raven, then it left, but since he's crazy, he continued to see it and think that it was some kind of messenger or prophet, like he called it.
I'd like to take a third position on this.
Oh.
Where I think that the raven is there, and I think the raven is there the entire time. But the reality that is not there is that this bird is talking to him. I think the bird is saying nevermore, but it's just imitating. It doesn't actually understand what it means. It's just imitating a sound. And the part of the reality that is being morphed is the protagonist being so overcome by grief that he keeps asking this bird questions and thinking that he's having a conversation with it when it's a bird that's just chilling because it doesn't want to be out in the storm and would rather take refuge in his house.
That's why I love how ambiguous this thing is, because you can take so many stances on it. We would actually might be able to know if that stance was correct for sure if we had the context of knowing how long the raven has been there, because remember, he starts with talking about thinking back to it, and he's like, oh, I remember it was a dreary December night and blah 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 when the raven first came.
Ooh, that is a good point. This is all recollection.
Right, it's all recollection. It's like, how long has he been sitting there? So I don't know. So with the context of I don't know, how long he's been there, it's seems if he was thinking back to, oh, it was a cold December night. It's like, oh my God, how long have you been sitting here? You've been sitting there for months? I don't what? I don't understand. Personally, I think the story overall is like a type of parable or a lesson. It's trying to illustrate the danger of holding too tightly onto memories, and that you can't hold on to everything forever. It'll only hurt you to keep holding on, so you have to learn to let go. And that's what I think the line at the end means when he says, my soul shall be lifted nevermore, is that he's realized that he just can't let go, and that there's a real danger in that. And Poe, I was actually reading a commentary on it, and Edgar Allan Poe himself said that the raven symbolizes mournful, never-ending remembrance. Whether it's the story, it's like a symbol in the story, or a symbol to the character, is that so I don't know.
No, it's valid. Apparently, this poem was so influential in his career. It was so popular that he wrote a treatise, what is it? A treatise? Whatever. He wrote a book. He wrote a book afterwards.
He wrote a book.
He wrote many books, but he wrote a book, and this book was called The Philosophy of Composition. And
yes.
Apparently breaks apart this. He uses this poem as an example of every single thing that you write in a book means something. Every single thing that you put needs to have weight towards the story, and is in some way, it has purpose, it has intent. So it's interesting to hear him say that, acknowledge what the symbol of the raven is, but not acknowledge the viewpoints that we're discussing about whether or not the raven is even there. I personally like how in all of his stories, he always likes to use repeated phrases. He usually likes to repeat a line or a word, and as the story kind of comes to a close, brings it up more and more often.
Yeah.
So that we are, and in this case, it isn't even just the phrase nevermore, as it is apparently the long O.
Yeah.
And he really likes using Lenore, nevermore, rapping on my door, using the long O. There's just something to that sound that he liked and experimented with in this piece that might have this kind of sense of dread or intrigue. It hangs on longer than other vowels. I don't know. So, I'm not an English major.
It's like Dr. Seuss off of his antidepressants.
Oh no.
Oh, have you seen some of the pictures that he's drawn?
Dr. Seuss?
Yeah, he's like drawn like really depressing Seussian artwork.
Oh God, I didn't know that.
Like in like the twilight of his years, like it's like these like super like imagine a creepypasta version of Dr. Seuss. He like drew paintings like that.
Oh God, really?
They're super messed up.
Oh God.
Why do I want to see these?
I want to see these. Hold on.
We need to do to Google. But he drew some like really weird messed up stuff like that.
What the fuck?
Oh, there's some weird stuff in here.
Yeah. So
You're like, hey, you want to see Dr. Seuss have a mental breakdown? Yeah.
yeah, really.
Rein it back in a little bit. What are you guys' final thoughts on that?
On the poem itself, I got through all my notes. I really don't have a final thing.
That was pretty much my thinking, is that, Poe is one of the greatest American poets for a reason.
Right. I like his use
Poet.
of words.
Sorry.
I like his use of, or his word choice, I should say, and his use of rhyme and rhythm. I think if he were still alive today, he would have been mad decent at writing rap.
Oh God.
Yeah, maybe. but like sad rap. Like
Yeah, he'd be like a sad boy rap guy.
Yeah, like super angsty sad boy rap.
He seems like he'd be more of a metal guy to me, but whatever.
He's got words, dude.
You can do both. I mean, look at fucking Run, Definitely Run. We already did this.
Yeah, Rage Against the Machine. This is old news.
No.
Edgar Allan Poe is the Tom Morello
of
Victorian United States.
He would just like get up on stage in like his tailcoats and his wig and just do like Thrasher.
He didn't wear a wig, did he?
I don't know, maybe. No, probably not. I just assumed.
Edgar Allan Poe wear a wig. Let's find out, boys.
Might as well. Well, because like there's the iconic picture of him looking like really big sad boy, but he has like his like dark curly hair.
Nah, that's not a wig.
Yeah, I don't think that's a wig.
You're just jealous of his all-natural hair.
I am.
Yeah, Jaden.
Simple hair.
Also, if he were around today, I think he would have put like purple streaks in his hair.
Oh, for sure.
Would he have been a scene kid?
He would have painted his nails for sure.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Completely black. They're like, Edgar, why are you always sad? And he's all like, fuck off.
Hey, fuck off. My mom died, I married my cousin, and then she died.
Now there's this fucking raven.
So now we get to the actual performance by Glenn. Now, whether you agree with Glenn's interesting political stances,
by good family friend and friend of the podcast, Glenn Beck.
Oh God. Whether you agree with Glenn's interesting political stances, I have a hard time denying his incredible voice acting here. He really felt what he was reading. The emotions he communicates really ring true. I mean, I got serious goosebumps just from his performance, and the sound design backing him, I think really brought the whole thing together.
I am gonna bite the bullet here a little bit. I kind of thought it came off a little bit over dramatic.
I'm going to further that point, and I'm going to say that what I wrote in my notes is that it is heavily overproduced and way overacted.
Okay, I knew this was gonna come up. All right.
Fight.
No, I knew this. I literally wrote down my response ahead of time. Like I knew this was gonna come up. Of course, he was over the top. He was voicing a crazy person. Not to mention, he really did have some subtle moments in there too, so it wasn't all like crazy. It was actually, and the shouting and everything was actually really scarce and well placed. So like he's over emotional because he's playing a character who is over emotional.
I can see that. From like to a certain extent, I can't agree with you. Those quiet moments did really work well.
Yeah.
But as like the poem kept going and going, The acting, it's give or take for me. It's a little bit over dramatic, a tiny bit for me at the very least, but the sound design to me could have been toned down a little bit because like less is more. Less like completely over dramatic, overproduced like stingers. Like I feel like that would have worked a little bit better, but there was just those moments of like the dramatic stinger, dramatic.
Here,
stinger.
I'm gonna come right out and just say the piano was stupid. I think the stupid piano could have we could have done without it.
I'm saying
it was distracting. I think it distracted too much from the piece. Like I like atmospheric and kind of like design and world building. Like having I liked the voice filter on the Raven. That was really creepy. Wind effects and like the creaking of floorboards, sure, but like you just have like a creepy piano playing. That's so stereotypically Halloweeny that it just doesn't work. I just didn't like it.
How darest thou?
That said, like from an acting perspective, if you have a place to go to, that's great. I think he flat out. I think he messed up the very first line of the poem. No. Like I'm being serious because he had like these he had these uneven pauses and stuff in it that just felt like I understood what he was trying to go for, but this poem is so well known that I feel like you can't stop for that. I think you have to get the first two lines of the poem have the iambs, the iambic sensation, and he like kind of paused and broke them up, and I didn't care for it. I think he showed his hand too early. I think he showed that I'm going to go crazy in that first two lines, and I didn't care for it.
Okay, well, number one, the character was already crazy, and second, I mean, personally, I liked that he had those pauses in there because the like one of the very first lines of actually I think it was the very first line of like the second, what would you call that, the second phrase or the second paragraph, I don't know what you call that. As I nodded, nearly napping, like he was falling asleep. So it made sense to me because he sounded tired. Like I think that's what he was going for. So I think for me it worked really well.
Yeah, I think my thing is you can do crazy in a minimalistic way.
I don't even.
But the poem is not minimalist crazy. Like that's the point. Like the guy goes absolutely nuts at the end. Like absolutely, he's shrieking at the top of his lungs at this raven sitting on the bust of Pallas. The word that Poe used was shrieked. Like what is he going to do? Like I shrieked. Like what? No, like that's stupid. He's actually going to shriek. Like that. Like he's trying to put in the emotion that this character's feeling because the character's angry and he's yelling. So he's like, and I started to shout at the raven and I was very loud and I woke my neighbors. Like that's no.
I'm not saying that it needs to be read monotone. I'm just saying that it just all comes off as a bit too aggressive for what's going on.
I will say, yeah, I do think that there's credit to be said to you, Jaden, that yes, the actual text says shrieked. I shrieked. And he's going to shriek for that purpose. Like for me, and maybe this very well could land in artistic interpretation territory.
Yeah.
For me, my understanding, and we talked about our understanding of where the Raven is. Does the Raven actually exist? Is it a monster? Is it this or that? And for me personally, my understanding of it is that this is a misunderstanding of communication. And that leans more towards less insanity and more just outright paranoia bordering insanity. So like it's just kind of like I just kind of wanted this like anxiety to be present, and instead of this kind of like I'm clearly going crazy kind of type. I kind of wanted this like this it's a scholar. I wanted this kind of like very meek and quiet kind of type person who just can't contain and like loses his composure as it goes along.
That's kind of what he did though, because he kind of passed through the anxiety portion of it. It was quick, but he went from like, he thought that it was kind of funny at first, and then he was like, oh, it can talk, and then he started to think, and he got a little bit anxious, and then he like lost his composure, like you said. So I think that's kind of what he did, but it's cool.
I feel like lingered a bit more on the anxiety part. I feel like it would have been a little bit more powerful there at the end if it had like built up that kind of panic a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he didn't do these things. I just think the pacing doesn't suit what I like in my dramatic works, and that's probably just, again, artistic interpretation. It's just what I like.
Yeah.
Not saying that he can't act. He very clearly can.
Yeah, I get that. That's actually fair. I think he, like you guys said, I actually agree that the anxiety part could have been drawn out a little bit more, because in the part where he starts to ask if God is sending him a sign, he kind of starts to move into anger a little too fast. I think the part where he's asking if God is sending him a sign or something actually could have been a little more anxious, because he starts to move into angry a little bit too quick, because it's like at that point Poe does not say the guy is angry,
right?
So you guys are right. He moves into angry too quickly. So yeah, the anxiety could have been drawn out. I 100% agree there.
And to give you credit, maybe, and to give Glenn Beck credit, at that point, it could also be a character choice that he wants to react to that with anger. Because, again, we are introduced to him as a scholar. He has a bus of Pallas, and he is poring over tomes and books of lore, and he's clearly an intellectual type. To come across with this idea of God sending me a sign, maybe this could be the kind of stereotypical academic type who doesn't believe and is getting the sign and is frustrated, like, oh, is this God sending me a sign? That could be where his character choice might have gone with it.
Potentially, yeah. The character to me actually came off as, even though he's an intellectual and all that, he actually came off to me as really superstitious.
Yeah. Okay.
He came off really superstitious, because his first, his very first conclusion when he feels something in the air change, and instead of being like, oh, that was weird, he's like, oh, there must be angels in the room now. Like, he seems like he's very, very superstitious.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, like, for the time that this takes place in, that probably is like largely the reaction most people would have had.
Yeah.
Because Christianity and religion was largely dominant in that time.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense for it to just automatically be like, oh, this could be like an angel or a demon, because realistically you don't have any other explanation in that time period.
Just the context of the location and the time period, obviously, kind of weigh into that and help with that. So
yeah. And he's also, as far as Glenn goes, he's also done The Conqueror Worm, which is a bizarre acid trip of a story. He also did Annabelle Lee, and he did The Telltale Heart too, which are great. For me, he's a little bit over the top, fine, but whatever. For me, I think he did a great job on all of them. I don't know if he's done voice acting work on other stuff, or if he's taken classes or courses or whatever.
He's a radio host.
Yeah. But with, when you're doing radio and stuff, yeah, it's similar, but you're not as much playing a character as you are just, being yourself. Because he's like a political talk show host, so I don't think he's really doing a character when he's... Well, maybe he is. Alex Jones says he's doing a character, so maybe Glenn's doing a character too, I don't know.
No, Alex Jones is just...
a crazy person.
Yeah, he's the one Edgar was writing about.
Right. Okay, and people might hate me for this.
Lenore!
People might hate me for this, but I like this performance even more than Christopher Lee's version of this. Glenn's version is it's more passionate and raw. Like, it feels more real. Like, don't get me wrong, Lee's version was great, but it felt more like a reading, like you would go to at a library, or like a parent reading to their kid. Glenn's felt real, like every emotion, like you could feel it, what the protagonist was feeling. And that's kind of what I prefer as far as like Edgar Allan Poe's work goes. Because it's usually somebody who thinks they're logical and is actually an emotional wreck. It kind of works, like when you have a really emotional reading of something like this.
I can agree.
Yeah,
Next week
I can vibe with that.
Next week we should review the version read by James Earl Jones.
I did see that.
There's a James Earl Jones version?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ah!
We should have done that one instead.
No.
No.
I didn't even know that existed. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Listeners, go check out Christopher Lee's version, go check out Glenn's version, and go check out James Earl Jones' version, and then tweet us which one is the best one and why.
Yeah. Tell us which one's the best.
Tell us which one is the best one, and tell us why it's the best one, and tell us we're all idiots for why we don't agree with you, or agree with you.
Or tell us we're right.
And then tell us why Glenn Beck's an asshole.
Nevermore.
Nevermore.
Any final thoughts?
Nevermore.
Jeez Louise.
So like, and my main gripe with the Christopher Lee version is the voice that Christopher Lee does for the Raven really breaks the atmosphere.
Oh, okay. Now I have to listen to it and hear what voice he does.
It's really annoying.
I have never pulled up YouTube faster.
I understand. He kind of goes for almost like a bird voice, like what you would actually hear from a bird that's mimicking speech. But it just broke the atmosphere. He was like, nevermore. I was just like, oh my god, it's not a parrot.
I was gonna say, I was almost anticipating you being like, nevermore.
It's not quite that bad. Oh my god, can we do a parody where it's a parrot instead of a raven?
No, but we have to do a parody, but it's all done in uwu voice.
No.
Once upon a midnight wee-wee. Now I pondered weak and weary.
No.
What fresh hell have I entered? We should do. I like the parrot one. I like the parrot one, but instead change also the dude into a pirate.
Oh yeah.
Wife.
Yeah, he is a little curt on the nevermore.
Yeah, it should be more drawn out.
Hey laddie, are you sent from heaven or hell?
Be that word our sign of parting.
Sponge boy me bob.
Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary. Well, that brings our review of this week's selection to a timely end. Thanks for joining us here on the Weekly What's Up, and until next time, this is Jay and the rest of the crew reminding you to keep producing art so we can keep making fun of it. If there's anything you'd like us to review in the next episode, you can send it to contacttww@gmail.com or tweet to us at the What's Upcast. Huge thanks to my co-hosts for joining me this week. You'll find their social media sites in the description below. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.
That was a little too fast for me.
That was like
That
was like end of the commercial. Like, here's all of the ailments that you're gonna get by trying our medicine. Bad.
We're not responsible for anything yet. That kind of thing, yeah.
I will say I'm impressed that you didn't stumble through that at all.
Thank you. Well, there was that one, but that was
Never mind.
Oh my god. Can we go home?
That's how you end a podcast.
Dad, can we go home, please?
Dad.
I don't want to be here anymore.
Mom, I'm scared. Dad's talking fast.
Nevermore. If there's anything you'd like to send... Okay. I like doing it
Did you have to
faster.
spit something out?
Yeah, it's called
What was that?
disappointment. It's disappointment for failing.
You were on a roll.
Take
I was doing it, dude. I was happy. Okay. Alright. Nevermore.
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 There you go.
Nevermore. And I don't care. And we'll splice that in. No. Oh god, my mouse broke stuff.
Do we actually have a sponsor?
Yes.
Oh.
If you listen to episode 2.
Yeah, I know.
William and I recorded a delightful ad together.
I will listen.
Wow! That's so cool! All right.
I feel called out.
Wesley, you'll find that delightfully droll when you listen to the ad. But anyway, so our next topic is in...
Take 2!
So our next topic is... It's so distracted right now. I just can't. I can't
You got it, Jaden. You got it. We believe in you.
All right,
Third time's a charm.
there we go.